Hey everybody, this is Tyler, and this is my blog, Pros Blog. Today I wanted to talk about Cory Booker and why he hasn't taken off like some of the other senators in the race. So Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and former Senator Joe Biden have all done relatively well. They're in the top tier of the race. And that makes sense. They are U.S. senators, and that gives you a lot of credibility. But why did they end up in the top tier, and Cory Booker has been nowhere near the top tier, at least so far in this race? I think he's a great candidate, and I was really excited when he announced his candidacy because he's great on criminal justice reform, he's great on the environment, and he's great on economic issues related to income inequality. So he's smart, he's competent. Why isn't he moving ahead? One of the reasons might be because he's vegan. And I'm also vegan, which I recognize how this can come off negatively to certain people. I have had people get really weird when I tell them I'm vegan, and sometimes they're angry. Usually I don't even tell people that I'm vegan, or I joke if I do say I'm vegan, because there's this stereotype of like the angry vegan that I'm trying to avoid. So, is Cory Booker an angry vegan? No, I don't think he's an angry vegan at all. He's actually really nice, and he comes off really professionally. But some people, when they find out he's vegan, they just might not be they might not react to that very well, and I've seen that personally. So right now he's in 7th place on average according to Real Clear Politics, about 2.5%. He's not even in the top 7 in Iowa and New Hampshire. So is it discrimination against veganism? Is that the reason? I think it could play a part. Some people really have a negative impression of vegans, and so if they know that information, maybe Cory doesn't appeal to them for that reason. In fact, veganism is strangely one of the most hated groups in the United States. There was a study that atheists, immigrants, homosexuals, and asexuals had a higher ranking than vegans in terms of positive impressions. And considering all the hatred that's thrown at those groups, this is really surprising. The only group viewed more negatively were drug addicts. So drug addicts had a lower positive ranking than vegans. So there might be somewhat of a hill that Cory has to climb when it comes to the impressions of vegans. And he was actually confronted with this in the CNN town hall, where people asked if he wanted to ban cheeseburgers because that was a big thing in the Green New Deal, and people were talking about how they wanted to reduce meat intake to help the environment, and that was taken as wanting to ban cheeseburgers. And basically his answer was the United States is a free country with individual choice, and so he's not trying to ban cheeseburgers, and that he called it a myth. But maybe people don't believe him because he was very passionate, I think, in defending his own personal choice to be a vegan for environmental reasons. So maybe that personal characteristic does make people question, or is Cory Booker going to ban cheeseburgers? I think there's perhaps bigger reasons why Cory hasn't taken off. The main one is that there's so many candidates and so many big names. That top tier of senators, I mean, they're mostly big names, like Joe Biden, the former vice president as well, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. These are huge names. And it's hard to break through all of that noise that's going on. So I think just in terms of there's a lot of candidates out there, that's probably a bigger reason. And another reason is I don't know that for many people, Cory has distinguished himself in terms of his ideas. Maybe people don't know what's different about Cory from Elizabeth Warren or from Bernie Sanders or from Joe Biden for that matter. So it seems to be that he has not made himself into perhaps a unique choice that's different from some of the others that are already taking off. So perhaps some of his potential supporters are just moving towards Elizabeth Warren or moving towards Bernie Sanders. And I think you can see that in some of the polls where you see the first and second choice for Sanders and Warren and Booker for that matter. You can see that there's a lot of overlap in that support. So even though I don't know if being a vegan helps Cory, it probably doesn't particularly help Cory considering how negatively people view vegans. I don't think it's the main reason why Cory hasn't taken off so far. However, I really hope that going forward his voice becomes more prominent in the debate, because I do think he actually offers something different in terms of being really forceful about the priorities on the environment and criminal justice reform. These are huge issues for the United States. So if you have an idea of why Cory Booker hasn't taken off, leave it in a comment below and make sure to subscribe.